What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of Off the Record. My name is Felipe. I have built a multi-six-figure net worth by the age of 25. And today I'm going to look over Reddit's personal finance and give him advice. This is, of course, not financial advice by any means. I'm not a financial professional. You should take everything I say with a huge grain of salt. However, I do think I can help in some cases. And let's get right into it. So our first person here, how much cash should I have on hand? I'm wondering how much emergency cash you keep on hand. No high yield savings account or emergency funds. I have a plan for that. As I rework my budgets and financial plans, I realized that I haven't thought about emergency cash and how much to keep in the house. What's recommended? Is there a flat amount? Is it per person in your household? That's a phenomenal question. Honestly, I don't carry any cash. Maybe this is not best practice, but I say if you have a family and like there's an emergency, then maybe you have $1,000. And this is honestly like very dependent on the person. There's like these doomsday people that have like $10,000, $20,000 in their safe and like a bar of gold and 14 AR-15s. So it's just like, it's up to you and like your preparation. I honestly can't think of any cash that I hold, just given you can Venmo people, you can send them Zelle, I have my credit cards. If I need to raise money, then I can go to the ATM and go withdraw there, but it's just not something I think about much. Honestly, I think a couple $100, you're good to go. If you have to pay someone, for example, that come to work at your house and they just don't have Zelle or Venmo or whatever, you just give them cash, then you're good to go there. But honestly, this is kind of like a situation where only if like an EMP came down and destroyed Earth or whatever, and every machine wasn't working or whatever it is, like, then yeah, like you would need your cash. But in most cases, you probably won't need much cash, like physical cash. So these are my thoughts. I don't have any cash. I think I could have maybe a couple $100. I also don't have a family, so it's dependent on you. Not sure how many kids you have, but this is what I think of it. Person number 2, when should you take your foot off the gas and spend more on life? Live in the US. I'm 37-year-old male, married, have 1-year-old child. My wife's 35. She's in school working, doing her PhD, and she'll be finished within the next 2 years. I'm a weird spot in my life where I feel like there's nothing to look forward for. I am just in the routine and life's passing me by. I would like to change up the monotony of life and go on some family traveling. Thinking 3 trips over the year, go to Hawaii, go to Italy, go to Japan. Are we crazy for thinking of doing this? Question mark. When is a decent time to cut back on spend and enjoy life? Financial breakdowns below. By the way, these trips are $5,000, $10,000 total. Income 150K before bonuses. Me 118K, wife 32K. Mortgage with HOA $2,900. High yield savings account 39K. Brokerage 112, IRA 115, 401K 25K. Credit card debt 7K at 0% APR until July. Student loan 60K deferred. So 120K of student loans. That actually kind of sucks. So your IRA is basically canceling out that student loan debt right there. Dude, like, I mean, just being objective, like you don't have that much money if you think about it. Like, yeah, 112 plus 39 plus 25, like what is that? 160, 170. Great amount of money. But you're 37, you're getting to your 40s. Like this money has to be compounding. Like I don't think you're at a spot where you can just stop saving. I think you should actually start saving more and start trying to make more. You want to go to these trips and spend $10,000 over the next 12 months, which is honestly a good bit of cash. But I think the most important thing here is like, what are your goals? Like, so you're talking about when should I stop saving? But like, how much do you want to spend whenever you get to 60 or whenever you get to 55? That's a bigger question you should be thinking about instead of, hey, I'm just saving aimlessly. Like, I think you should kind of work backwards of your end number of how much money you want to spend at retirement and then calculate how much money you need. So in this case, at a 4% withdrawal, let's say you're spending 100K a year, you can basically save $2.5 million and you're good to go. Like, yeah, that's a lot of money. But if you start saving more aggressively at 37, that can materialize in a couple of years. Like, yeah, you're going to miss out on a lot of the compounding, but this $10,000 you're trying to spend whenever you're trying to travel, like this should go into your 401k or your Roth. And I understand like the monotony of life. Like it gets boring. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, you're doing the same thing every day. And honestly, whoever does the same thing every day and gets better at doing that every day, that's the people who win. That's the people who stay disciplined in terms of investing, that build great businesses, and regardless of how they feel, they keep acting on that. So maybe you're just kind of bored of your job. Maybe you need some new experiences. I understand traveling's pretty cool, but maybe if you pick up a hobby or you start doing something different on the weekends with your wife or your friends, whatever it is, like maybe you don't need this overseas trips that are kind of expensive. Maybe it's just, a new hobby, or you got to pick up a new book or something like that. Like, I'm 37, I don't have a kid, I don't have a wife. So his situation is very different than mine. But I certainly feel like at times I am in the monotony of things. But then I think about why I'm doing this. Mainly because I want to build a better future for myself. And I really enjoy doing this. So I guess we got a different problem, but that's my take on this. I don't think you necessarily have enough money to just take your foot off the gas yet. Maybe if you had like a million, million two, million five at this time, you would have been better off. That's not really the case here. So you just got to save more money, dude. Honestly, I know it kind of sucks, but that's just how it works. So wish you the best. Apprehensive size 150. Person number 3, lump sum inheritance. Buy house for cash? Question mark. People love buying houses on cash, huh? Jeez. Long story short, later this year, my wife and I stand to inherit some like $1 million from a family member estate. It might be a bit more, might be a bit less, but it will definitely be enough to buy my parents' house for cash, even though they live in suburban Boston, which is expensive. Should we just do that? Question mark. It's likely that you would take pretty much all of the money, or if there is a good amount left over, we would probably put into improving the property to make it more livable and or increase its prospects for profitability renting. We believe in an apartment, one of the house we purchased, and it's a 2 family. That's pretty cool. It looks like it's a duplex. So we do know that there will be no tax on the gifted money since it's way under a lifetime exemption. But is buying a house not the best use of your money? Or if we do buy the house, should we do something other than pay cash for it? Like putting a big down payment, but putting the rest in some sort of investment, maybe another rental. This is very, very interesting. I think buying a house with cash is probably one of the dumbest things you could do. So let's get the first out of the way. The 30-year fixed debt in the United States is honestly what built this economy and is one of the best financial instruments that you can get a hold of. So if you get, let's say, even like a 5.5%, 6% rate, inflation's trending at like 2.5%, maybe 3%, you're literally paying 3% to borrow money for that house. Like if you put that money into the stock market, let's say that $1 million, so that's earning you 8 to 9% inflation adjusted. Look at that delta. So you borrow at 3% and you're making at 8. So you're making like 5 to 6% on your $1 million. So the question is, do you like making $50,000 to $60,000 extra every year or not? If I was gifted $1 million, the last thing I would do is buy a house. I would use that money to invest in the market. I would buy a house, but with a down payment. I would put 20% down. I can get an FHA loan for 5%, and it looks like it's a duplex. You could rent out one of the sides and have your monthly payment be so low that your housing situation is just dealt with. So what I would do is buy the house, but with a mortgage. So you're putting 10, 15, 20% down. Maybe if you get an FHA loan, you can put 5% down, which is clutch. And then with the rest of the money, go invest in the stock market. Go open a taxable brokerage on Robinhood, Schwab, Fidelity, whatever. Go buy an index fund with the rest of the money. So that's going to be like 900K, and let that thing eat, bro. That thing's going to be earning you like 10% a year before inflation. Like, dude, that's just like a no-brainer to me. And it's awesome that you're inheriting this much money. Like, that's awesome, dude. I mean, such a good situation to be in, and hopefully everybody's all right. Maybe someone died or something. But the thing is, like, you're in such a unique situation, and you literally won the lottery. Like, getting $1 million at this time of your life, I don't think it says their age. Like, dude, you give $1 million to anybody at any point in their life. Like you're going to be good. So I do think you should buy the house. However, you should buy the house with a mortgage, and you should put either as little down as you can, or if you're not comfortable with a mortgage, you just put 20 to 30% down. So one side of the house is paying for your whole living situation. So let's say you buy this $1 million house and you have a 4K mortgage, and you can just rent out one of the sides for 3,500. So now you're effectively paying $500 a month for your living situation. So instead of living in Boston and paying like 2,500, $3,000 to live at an apartment, you now have a house and you have 800K and you have almost $0 of monthly living expenses just for your housing situation. So win-win. Do not buy a house with cash. I understand the appeal of buying the house with cash. Like you just own that building outright. But here's the thing. There's property taxes. Like, dude, you never own anything in this earth. Like there are always taxes you got to pay. Insurance. Buying a house in this situation can be a trap, especially because you're managing that thing. Like you're going to have to put an AC in there whenever it breaks, new roof, paint, carpet, LVP flooring, all this kind of stuff, dude. Trust me, I'm huge into real estate. I love it. I'm gonna buy multiple houses, but it has to make a lot of sense, and not like I just got $1 million, let's go buy a house cash. Like I don't think that's the best use of your money. So hopefully this helps, and hopefully you guys enjoyed. Little different format for this style of the channel. So let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll talk to y'all soon.